Today we're going to give you an update on how our water tank is going under our tray. A couple episodes back we installed it, so if you haven't seen it, check that out. Also, every Wednesday we're going to be doing Travel Truth. So for 2 years we travelled around Australia full time and we learnt a lot, and now we're going to be giving people the insight that they might need before they hit the road. So make sure you subscribe for that. Alright, so let's get stuck into this. We're Joss and Megan, and after 2 years of living full time on the road in a rooftop tent, we learnt a lot. Now we're here to share what worked, what didn't, and everything we wish we knew before we started. So at the end of our last video, we weren't really sure how we were going to plumb it in because of how close it came to the cab. It is very tight in there and the outlet is still very close to the cab. I did a few Bunnings trips and managed to figure it all out, and it wasn't perfect, I guess, but I made it work to how we're going to use it and how we think it's best to use. You can't really see in there, but deep in there is a reducer, which reduces it from the, I think it's 40 mil down to a little elbow, which I think is 20 mil. And then that way, because it was a smaller elbow, I was able to fit it in there quite easily. And then I've run this high grade hose. Now tell me in the comments if clear hose is going to be a problem. I've used it in the past, but it was only a small section, whereas we've got a lot of it now. So this is our filler. Now it's not perfect. It doesn't actually have anywhere to kind of hook onto anymore, but essentially what we've got here is a decent width hose and decent length. Comes out to a hose end, and I've got a tap in it. So water's not going to come out when we're driving. You can also turn it off even if this hose is still on once it's full. The reason we did that instead of having something like this is because usually you're going to be using a hose to fill it up. It's a lot easier to just click that on. We have a hose in the back of our canopy for this exact thing. So we thought, saving like trying to find bits as we go, it's always going to be like this, and then tap here on off. And now at the moment we're kind of just hooking it back there so it doesn't rattle too much, but I'm going to try and make some kind of, I guess, latch or mount or hook or something it can just sit in nicely, but that's how it is. Now, another question we had on our previous video was, what about a breather? Now, if you go back and look at that video, you do notice that for the inlet, there is a big hole, the 40 mil I mentioned, but also a little one, which I think is a 15 mil. Now, that was quite easy. I popped an elbow on that, and then there's a hose, a smaller hose running up about probably 30 centimeters to a little outlet. Now that outlet at the moment isn't covered, but it lets air in and out. Once I filled the tank up, it overflowed there. So that's kind of where the air comes in and out. I will try and put like some kind of mesh over top of it to stop stuff from going in. At the end of the last video, we weren't going to use that setup, but now I managed to find a small elbow. We were able to, which is great because now it's all hidden behind there. Moving around to the tap side of things. Now this is also going to be something, figure it out as I go. In the water tank, it's got an outlet down there in the middle and then an outlet here. That outlet down there is like your bung. It's like if you just want to empty it quickly. Now, and this is our tap. Again, I got clear hose, smaller, I think it's the 15 mil. Basic outlet here. That runs to my pump. 6 litre per minute pump from Smart Tech, came with the shower, and the shower is one of the main reasons that we're gonna use this thing. Filter before, then we've got, I guess, pumps it out. Now, because the canopy is a jack-off canopy, it was kind of necessary to have a tap that we can use when the canopy's not on. So that's how I came up with this. Now, there is a T here. So water goes that way, and then I've got a tap here. Now, it's just a normal tap, again, a hose connection. It's easier when it flows like that small. Now, this tap isn't gonna be used a bunch, but it is handy when we don't have the canopy on, because I'll show you the second tap in a minute. So this is simple, just hose to there, just an elbow that got into the tap. I have these, probably not the right materials to use, but these, put as tight as you want them and with thread tape, I still wasn't 100%. There was a tiny little leak, which would mean the pump would go brrr every so often. So a bit of silicone and it's pretty sweet. Just screwed it straight into there. Pretty straightforward, and that could essentially, if you wanted, that's all you need. But because I make things difficult for myself, I thought, let's put a tap on the kitchen side. Under here, the T junction goes left and it goes behind numb plate and then up to this thing here, which I have bracketed on here. It hangs loose. I probably should hook it up there somehow so it doesn't wobble around too much. And you might be wondering, when the pump goes on, why doesn't water just piss out of here? Well, this is one of those hose connections that if there isn't anything in there, there's a little valve in there that's stopping it. That's the first part of it. Then I thought, the reason I did this is because I've got a small little hose joiner which will go straight from there up and just hang loose when like rock up to camp, and like when we're at camp, I'm gonna set up everything. I get my hose, plug it from there, around here and under there, into that, and then I can turn the tap on. Now, that's all well and good. Initially, I had a tap here, like similar to what I've got on the filler, but it kept leaking. I think the pressure from the pump was just too much. But these valves in here, because they work on the pressure being put, the more pressure here, the harder that valve is, it's sweet. So even with the pump on. This here, I just needed a little bit of metal to pull it away from the canopy because it's a funny design. I don't know what they're actually supposed to be used for. I've tested it and I can easily clip on a hose there. And then this is our kitchen side, so we've easily got water here. In our previous setup, it was, where was it? Under here. So it was sitting about there, which was fine, but this is a bit more convenient. Now in these brackets, which look rusted and a bit shit, sits our Smart Tech hot water system for our shower. Or it can be a hot water system for whatever you want. So that's going to go there. It just sits in there, and then I'll just make this little thing and it just screws up tight. So when we have a shower or whatever, we can literally, I can either use that hose that goes to there and plug it into the Smart Tech system, or I can use the hose that's in the Smart Tech system to go from my existing tap into it. Gas there, it's all set up perfectly for that. So that's pretty much it. It hasn't moved around despite me being a little bit unsure about how it's gonna go. It doesn't move. It does move a little bit, but I think there's always gonna be a little bit of play. It's still a work in progress. 12 volt. Now, this comes with this thing here, comes with one of them. Now, the issue I have is that I didn't really want to run off my car battery, but if we don't have the canopy on, we don't have the pump because the battery's in the canopy. So I'm gonna have to rig up 2 different systems, which isn't ideal, but it's just going to be how it works, because in the previous car we had 2 batteries we had an AGM in the engine bay as well, and I ran all this stuff off that. Can't really bother doing that just for a pump. So what we're going to do is I've got one of these that goes to an Anderson plug. That's probably going to run up here permanently. And then here we have this powers, which this usually is in, the tent. So any electricity we need in the tent, that goes there. That comes from the alternator, and that's our solar. But this one can be used, it's fused. So I'll get like essentially an Anderson plug double adapter, pop it in here, tent can be plugged into it, and also the pump. So when we are at camp or wherever, even driving, that will be plugged in. That has a switch on it. So obviously we've always got it switched off if we're driving or not using the car or not camping or whatever. So that's how we're gonna do it. And then I may rig up something down the track which goes to our car battery with a switch on it as well, so we can use the pump if we need to without the canopy on the car. So that's pretty much it. It's still, yeah, like I said, it's a work in progress. It's one of those things where there's always something little to do, but we haven't yet. We're actually heading out camping soon, so we're actually going to test this properly, see how good the pump is, see how good the pump is with the shower and all that kind of thing. So definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe because we're going to be testing that out. And I've got a bunch more reviews and things we took on our travels and new products that we've got. So make sure you subscribe for that. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode and I'll see you next time. Bye.